The night was soft and still, the kind of silence that wraps around you like a blanket, and she lay beside him, his chest rising and falling with each breath. His hand resting near hers, not quite touching, as if even in sleep he knew they were drifting. She turned slowly, careful not to wake him, and stared at the ceiling. Her mind louder than the darkness that surrounded them. It had been weeks since he looked at her the way he used to, since his fingers traced her back just to feel her warmth, since his voice softened just for her, and in those weeks, she had begun to unravel piece by piece, quietly, without a sound. He trusted her, and that trust felt heavier than any chain. Because loyalty was not just about saying no, it was about not even thinking. Yes, but tonight was different, because tonight he was here, and not just in her thoughts, but truly here, standing in the kitchen, where he had never stood before, his presence like a match near dry leaves, and she knew if she stayed near him too long, she would burn. She told herself to walk away, told herself she had nothing to prove, nothing to want, but the moment their eyes met, all the reasons dissolved, and she was only left with the ache. She never spoke of he leaned against the counter, his eyes never straying, never blinking, and he said her name like it was a secret he had kept too long, and in that one sound, she felt everything she had missed, all the warmth, all the attention, all the wanting. And she hated herself for feeling it, hated. How alive she felt standing this close to someone who was not the man who held her at night, though not tightly anymore. She poured a glass of water just to have something to do with her hands, something to keep them from reaching out, and he stepped closer to close, and still she didn't move away. His voice was low and careful, as if they were both standing at the edge of something deep and dangerous. He said he never meant to come between them. He just wanted to see her one more time, and she knew it was a lie, but it was a beautiful one, and she didn't correct him because part of her wanted to believe it. Too, she thought of the man in the bedroom, the man who gave her his name, his house, his time, but not his attention, and she wondered if love could survive being ignored, wondered if loyalty was still real, if it was born from duty or desire. And then his hand brushed hers. Not quite a touch, not yet, and still it lit her nerves like 1,000 sparks, and she closed her eyes for just a moment to remember who she was, to remember who she belonged to. But when she opened them, he was still there, his eyes still locked on hers, and the space between them no longer felt safe. It felt like a dare, and she had never been good at turning away from dares, not when they looked like this, not when they smelled like memories and promises and unfinished sentences. She said nothing, but she didn't step back, and he didn't move forward. They were frozen in that charged space, both of them, knowing what it meant, both of them pretending they could still walk away unmarked, untouched, unchanged, and somewhere in the next room the man she had vowed herself to slept peacefully, unaware that while he dreamed his future was unraveling breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat. The moon had shifted higher, casting silver light across the wooden floor as she finally turned her back to him, her fingers tightening around the cold glass in her hand, her mind racing with everything she could not say and everything she should not feel. He stood there silent, but the air was heavy with words unspoken and choices unmade, and the weight of it all settled in her chest like a storm gathering. He said her name again, softer, this time a whisper, almost like prayer, and her steps faltered just once before she kept walking toward the hallway that led back to the man she had promised to love through everything. And yet with each step she felt that promise pull and tear like old fabric stretched too far, too long. He had made her feel seen again, wanted again, and she hated how easily her heart had leaned toward it, like a flower tilting toward the first warmth after winter. She paused by the door, her hand resting on the frame, her breathing shallow. She didn't want to go in, not yet, because inside that room was everything she had built and everything she had begun to doubt, and out here just behind her was the danger she had once dreamed about and now feared, because it no longer felt like a threat. It felt like a choice, a temptation wrapped in longing, and she was so tired of being strong for everyone but herself. He hadn't moved. She could feel it the way a storm waits in the sky, and she turned back, slowly, her eyes meeting his one last time, as if the answer might be hiding in that final glance. And he didn't smile, didn't reach out, Didn't say anything more, and somehow that restraint made it worse, made it real, made it harder to breathe, because it meant he respected her choice. Whatever. It was, and that kind of care broke her in ways she didn't expect. She stepped forward again, not toward him, but not away. Just closer to the truth, she needed to face her voice finally steady, though her heart trembled, and she said that she missed being seen, missed being held not just in arms, but in eyes and words and thoughts, and he listened. Not with pity, but with something warmer, something like understanding, and it made her want to cry. Because she didn't know how she had gotten so. Lost, he told her she deserved more, not more men, not more attention, but more love. The kind that does not forget, the kind that notices even the quiet sadness, and she wanted to scream. Because those words should have come from the man who slept a few feet away, the man who used to look at her like she was everything, and now barely saw her at all but. She didn't scream, she only nodded and turned away and walked back into the dark hallway, because loyalty was not about never being tempted. It was about choosing not to fall, and she chose to stay, even if it hurt, even if she felt unseen, because some promises still mattered, even when they were tested. And as she slid beneath the sheets beside him, his body shifting slightly in sleep, she closed her eyes and tried to forget the warmth of another gaze, the echo of another voice, the almost touch that haunted her skin, and she whispered into the night that she was still his, even if she was no longer whole, even if part of her stayed in that kitchen where her loyalty was tested and her heart was almost lost.